The Indianapolis Colts, fresh off that big upset on Sunday, now getting ready for Tennessee. And that game will be a sellout, and there are two more sellouts to come. We're talking Colts football here at 10 o'clock with Felicia and Kelly. Great to have you along here. Let us know where you're watching our 10 o'clock show. We'll give you a shout out. But Kelly, the weather around here has been pretty quiet, hasn't it, Felicia?
Yes, it has, but you can still feel a really, well, not big difference, but definitely a difference from the warmer temps we've
Right. I mean, I think it was last Wednesday where we had
90
degree high, right? So certainly a big contrast to today, dealing with fall weather, but really we've been watching out for Hurricane Ian.
Yeah, that's the focus tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of Florida is going to have impacts from this, but it looks like the brunt of the storm is really going to be most likely near Fort Myers or just a little bit north of Fort Myers. And it could wobble a little farther north to the Tampa area. But right now, that's kind of where we're looking at.
And landfall expected sometime tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow morning, I'd say mid-morning, we'll start to see the strongest portions of that storm. It's moving slowly. So it is going to take all day for this hurricane to really move across to the western edge of Florida.
And this storm surge is really being talked about as one of the biggest problems in terms of loss of life when this happens. You think about the amount of rainfall and the wall of water that, I mean, that's what ends up killing people.
Absolutely. Flooding is actually the #1 weather killer. People don't think of that, but people take risks and get out in the middle of water, and any kind of really about 12 inches of water can move a car. But we're talking about 9 feet of a storm surge that just will allow cars to float away, along with humans. So a lot of catastrophic disaster with this storm system.
And you've got some graphics to show us in terms of where this storm is right now.
I'm going to show you a little bit of the timing and what to expect. And just we've been talking about hurricane categories, and since obviously we don't deal with hurricanes here locally, it's just kind of good just to kind of recap where we are on the scale here. But right now this hurricane is a Hurricane 3 category, so it's really right in the middle of the 3rd category with 120-mile-per-hour winds. It's considered a major hurricane with devastating, damaging winds, part of that, as well as a storm surge and flooding. But we are expecting it to go up to a Category 4 later on tonight. It'll be on the low end, around 130-mile-per-hour winds, but nonetheless, it's still going to be a very major hurricane as it does have those impacts moving into western Florida. So here's a look at it right now. We're looking at satellite imagery. You can see the eye of the hurricane here. So it has weakened a little bit, but not much, and it's going to gain strength again as it slowly moves north, and it is just in that trajectory to northeast at this point at 10 miles per hour, 120-mile-per-hour winds. So looking at the actual radar, this is the radar from Key West. So it is picking up on the strong eye. We had one eye actually collapse, and now the wall has regained strength again, and it's getting strong again, and that pressure continues to hold near steady around 9:47. And we just had an update here at 10 p.m. So this is the latest update. So again, major catastrophes with this. It's already spinning off even some tornado warnings. Storm surge. Scott just mentioned that. So taking a look at what the storm surge is, even in the southwestern portion of Florida, expecting the storm surge in the reds. This is 9 foot plus that will be moving inland. So that strong winds out of the south is going to help force the water and push it into inland in the very low areas already along Florida. A little bit farther north of that area, we go up to Cape Coral, all the way up towards Fort Myers area, Port Charlotte. This area, again, going to see major storm surge and even streams. There's major concerns of the streams flooding and flash flooding, even with just some of the heavier rains. Now, this model not showing much storm surge in the Tampa area. Again, the models have shifted a bit on this, so we'll continue to monitor this area. Nonetheless, heavy rain is going to be a big issue with this. We're going to see this track moving over Florida, and it's going to bring this very heavy rain as the center of that hurricane moves over and dragging in all of that moisture, creating that energy from the ocean and just really sucking up all that moisture from the ocean and then dropping it as heavy rain. 10 to 15 inches possible. There'll likely be even some areas that pick up even more than that. Let's take a look at the spaghetti models. We don't show this very often, but our computer data models are in there, and they are really kind of pinpointing exactly where we think this hurricane is going to land. And as I just mentioned, it looks like the best point at this point is going to be Fort Myers or just slightly north, as the bulk of these computer data models are landing in this area. So you can see Tampa here not as prominent with these models. So really interesting to look at this. And when these models are put together by the hurricane hunters, so it helps they take in a lot of the actual what's happening with the hurricane and then put it into the computer data models. So it is expected to come into a 4-category hurricane early tomorrow morning with 130-mile-per-hour winds. Now it could hit as a 4 or possibly a 3. Nonetheless, it's still going to be a major hurricane. And again, that time frame will likely be mid to late morning Wednesday, and it will take until tomorrow night before we really start to see it weakening to a category 1 by 2 a.m. on Thursday morning. So this is going to have long-term effects for the state of Florida because, as you can see, it's going to really have impacts all across the area. Now, I mentioned the hurricane hunters, really interesting. They leave portions of Louisiana and they fly into the hurricane. So they're grabbing data, they drop in these instruments to measure the hurricane, to actually understand what's happening, to see how low the pressure is, what the wind speeds are. So really interesting data that they get out of this, and then they plug all of that information into these computer data models. So a lot of information that gets spit out through these models, but now we know that we are going to see these strong winds as well. Hurricane force winds will be pushing in. So we're talking about these winds of 120, possibly 130-mile-per-hour winds making its way into that area between Fort Myers and Tampa. And again, the brunt of the storm will be most of the day tomorrow. So taking a look at the track here, this is future track 13, looking at this as it continues to spin, and you can see really this right-hand quadrant. This is the area that is the most impactful part of a hurricane. So this is the area that really brings in the very strong damaging winds. It causes that storm surge, the flooding rains, all of that happening with that right front quadrant. And even on the wraparound, we can still see some issues. On the back side, even farther back, is where we have more of those potential for even tornadoes spinning off of this because of the very strong tight pressure gradient with this. So this is, again, this model has it a little bit slightly south of Tampa, again near Fort Myers area as well. So a lot of this will be determined as it gets a little closer tomorrow. We'll be able to pinpoint even more. But this is tomorrow afternoon into early Thursday morning. Then this starts to settle down a bit, but still heavy rains are still going to be around, really honestly, until about Friday morning before this starts to pull on out of here. So for us here locally, it's really not going to have much impact, although we'll likely see some clouds, possibly a stray shower or two out of it as we go into late Sunday and Monday. So looking at our weather here, we have this cold air aloft, and that's going to continue to really keep us a little bit cloudier tomorrow and actually cooler. We got up to 66 degrees earlier today, but now we're dropping down into the 50s, upper 40s right now, north central Indiana, those winds out of the north, and that is allowing that cooler, drier air to move in, and the winds have died down a bit. They are sustained now between 10 and almost 15 miles per hour in Indianapolis, but that cooler air pushing in and temperatures are falling into those low 40s, north central Indiana for the overnight. 45 will be the low for Indianapolis. Winds tomorrow, not as windy. However, it's still going to be a bit breezy. Winds will be sustained between 10 and 15 miles per hour, and it will still be a cloudy and cool day. We're only going to see highs topping out into the low 60s with those winds out of the north from about 5 to 10 miles per hour. So here's a look at your forecast. We'll see a high of 67 on Thursday. We finally get back to 70 degrees on Friday, into the low 70s for the weekend, and that's actually still below normal. Guys, can you believe that?
No, no, actually, I can't.
Great job, Kelly, telling us about how things are going to impact and unfold over the next several hours down in Florida. We've got a lot of people here at 10 o'clock praying and thinking for their families and friends who live in Florida. Among them, Jennifer saying, praying for a dear friend and her family who are in Sarasota. Gloria saying, praying for my family and friends. Tampa, Orlando, Pensacola, Tallahassee. Teresa saying, praying for Florida. We've got Donna saying, praying for my son and grandchildren. So perhaps they're there.
That's actually a good point, because we did a story earlier today about how Hoosiers, people are flooding our airport,
Right.
Indianapolis International Airport. Not everybody has an option to go someplace else during cases like this.
Yeah, and I think there are some people in Florida who have been through hurricanes, and they look at this one and they say, oh, I've been through a Category 3 before. And you forget, in terms of this storm surge, the water and the flooding, and of course that is, the power outages, those are all big problems.
And they have places for people to go, thankfully. A lot of, they've been through this stuff before.
Right.
And I've even heard people say that they have, the windows up for Category 3 hurricane.
We're going to let you catch your breath and get some water.
Sorry.
So no problem. We'll continue this.
We're talking Colts if you want to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Sandy says native Floridian moved from Sarasota to Indy 6 years ago. Be safe. Morgan says my uncle lives in Tampa. Bailey is in Tampa Bay tonight. We've got Sandy saying my niece and nephew live in Cape Coral. So we do have a lot of Hoosiers who have connections in Florida tonight. And I think the forecast that Kelly showed us is important for us to know. And we've got a lot of folks from Florida tonight. Tim says just got off a video call with my son in West Palm Beach. Just raining and windy. No one is to go outside. And I did mention or saw somebody in here saying that, let's see, Michael, Indiana boy in Sarasota, Florida, looks like it's heading here for a direct hit. So, yeah, a lot of folks in Florida paying very close attention to Ian as it comes through, Felicia.
Absolutely, as they should. Also, this is a lot of people from Florida, like, invite us down, invite us out.
Right. Once the storm leaves, we want to come down to Florida and enjoy the
some Hoosier
Sunshine State.
hospitality in the Sunshine State.
That's right. All right, let's talk about the Colts. Colts won that game on Sunday. Very few people thought they would win.
We did not. We talked about it here in studio.
I know.
You and I were the naysayers. We did not have our hopes up high for this one.
I mean, look, the first two games they didn't win. They tie one, lose one. They've got Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City coming in here. Colts win by 3 points.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I think now Colts fans are starting to feel like, okay, all right. Now we have Tennessee coming to town on Sunday. This game is a sellout. Wanted to bring that up. And then there are two other games on the calendar, both Lucas Oil Stadium, also sellouts. There's the game against the Eagles in November, and then there's another game against the Steelers. Both of those games are sellouts. So if you include Sunday's game against the Chiefs, 4 sellouts for the Colts.
Yeah, that's no shocker. Eagles and Steelers, there are a lot of fans here in Indiana. And those are just obviously highly competitive teams right there.
Yeah.
So the Titans, this coming up this Sunday, they're at 1-2 right now. So they've only won 1 game, lost 2.
Right.
Technically, our record is better. Technically, right now.
Right.
Barely. It's a technicality, Scott.
Yeah, I know. I guess you're right. 1-1-1, better than 1-2. So,
it is.
All right, so the Colts coming off this big win. They've got Tennessee and Derrick Henry coming to town. Their talented running back. How do you think the Colts are going to do? Based on what you've seen so far in 3 games with the team, will we beat Tennessee here at Lucas Oil Stadium? Are we, what do you think? Give us a score. Put that in the comment section.
Put your score in the comment section. So I think it's a toss-up. Somebody here, Nate, who works here, he said, did the Colts really win it, or did Kansas City really lose it? So, that game didn't go how we wanted to go, though we are still glad that the Colts won.
Yeah, of course.
Tennessee, I feel like it could be a toss-up at this point. Is it going to be a good day for us or a bad day for them?
Tennessee's been a tough opponent in the past. Colts have, obviously done well with the Titans here. So let's hope that continues. But, certainly we'd like to see better play by the offensive line to better protect quarterback Matt Ryan, who's 37.
Yeah.
Don't want him fumbling or throwing interceptions like we've seen in the first
injured.
3 games. That's correct. Like to see that rookie tight end catch a couple of touchdown passes this past weekend. Hope that continues.
What's your prediction?
I want to see the injury report as we move closer. How about Thursday? I'll give my prediction.
Okay.
But I feel a lot better having seen the Colts win and knowing this is a home game against Tennessee, and there's certainly a lot to play for. I'm going to hope that my feelings are still this way on Thursday.
Is this a political answer because you don't want to say the Titans are going to win?
No. I've got a better feeling. I think if the Colts had lost, Sunday against the Chiefs at a
Yeah.
probably.
It's also a home game.
Yeah.
I think that definitely gives you a little extra oomph, too.
True.
I think that's absolutely what happened this last game, it being a home game. The Colts hopefully filling it. They also had to go back and over that last couple of weeks, they had to go back and do some prayer and some rearranging on that team. I'll say, which Scott is waiting to base his prediction off of facts and stats.
Right.
I'll give one that's not based off of that.
Yeah, okay.
It's just out the air.
All right, so what's your score?
Yeah, I will say 36-28, and I got to go with the home team, Colts.
Wow, Colts are going to put that many points up?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I hope you're right.
Yes.
All right, hope you're right.
It says the Titans. I think it's going to be whoever wins, it'll be a high-scoring game.
All right, Don says Colts 21-14. Wanda says Colts all the way. Let's see, we've got Sandy saying I have faith. Horseshoe for the win. Jennifer predicting a Colts victory, 28-24. Jeremy has them winning 24-17. So Tim says 23-17 over the Titans. So there you go. So a lot of our friends who are joining us here at 10 o'clock pulling for the Colts.
Yeah.
As I am too.
I was going to say, I love that they at least chose the Colts to win. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the least you have to do in Hoosier Land.
Well, so coming up tonight at 11, Kelly's going to get you all set on Hurricane Ian. There will be another report that she'll be looking at. She'll be looking at the data. She'll show you. She will show you the radar on what you can expect there. We're going to take a look at the impact it's having on Indianapolis International Airport. If you've got a flight out tomorrow, you're going to want to pay close attention to what the Indianapolis Airport is doing, whether we see any departure problems. Will there be a ripple effect in flights here in Indianapolis? We'll take a look at that. And we'll also talk about a bunch of other things. Felicia.
Yes, we got to get an updated prediction after we get all the stats in. Did Kelly make it back in?
I think Kelly's still dealing with water.
How's your voice going, Kelly?
I'm okay. It's just allergies.
Okay,
you know,
just
the
allergies.
air.
Well,
All right.
that means she'll
I'm
be
good.
ready at 11.
Kelly's working on that 11 o'clock forecast, and we'll see you in about 45 minutes over on Channel 13. Good night.